parents tried to solve a chess puzzle from a local newspaper, and I just discovered the mystery of this little wooden chessboard. 64 squares, 32 pieces. Nobody told me how to move the pieces. I learned by just watching them. And at one point, I revealed that I knew some of the secrets. It was match made in heaven. When I play chess, it was everything.
How are you looking at the game?
You play, you have to invest, all you have in the game. So whether you may call it a war, you may call it psychological warfare. I realized that it's not just about chess, and that's another important lesson from my mother. So yes, chess is about winning and losing. Of course, it's about winning, but it's also about making the difference.
One thing I like to talk to the greatest of all time in their industries, whatever that may be. I like to speak to people that are the greatest in their industry, okay? In their industry. And a reason why we reached out to him, and he told me last night when we were having dinner, I don't know if you caught that, Tim, when he said at the dinner last night, he said, the last time I did a live event was January of 2020. We're talking a year and 9 months ago. Year and 10 months ago was the last time he did an event. To make it on this trip, he had to go all over the place. I'm sure he's going to tell us the story. So I'm excited to have him here. But the book, Your Next 5 Moves, talks about knowing how to have your next 5, 10, 15 moves. Can you imagine how many guys have been number one in sales for 1 month? How many guys have been number one in sales? How many guys have been number one in sales for 3 months straight in a big company? In a company with 1,000 people to compete with, you were number one 3 months straight. How many guys have been number one for 6 months straight? How many guys have been number one for 12 months straight? How many guys have been number one for 2 years straight, 3 years straight, 4 years straight, 5 years straight, 6 years straight, 7 years straight? You want me to continue? He was number one every month from 7 billion people around the world that played chess for 250 consecutive months in chess. That's absolute insanity. There is no other sport or athlete can even say something like that. 250 consecutive months, they call him the GOAT of the game of chess. A game many play, a few master, and a few become a teacher that teaches other masters. Give it up to the one and only Garry Kasparov. You fine? What?
It's a good way to start your weekend.
Why do I get a feeling you're super competitive? Is that a misread on me, or is because even when you came to dinner last night and you sat at dinner, I'm like, your level of intensity was felt when you sat at the table.
I never thought that it was doing anything unless you invest for yourself. So I also know the limits of my ignorance. So if I'm not, up to the task, so if I know that this topic is just, outside of the sphere of my competence, so I stay away. But if I'm in, it's full Monty.
It's full Monty if you're in. Okay. So for some that don't know your story, I mean, listen, it's a very, very interesting story that you got. And obviously how you came up competing, we'll talk about that. Going up against the IBM machine, we'll talk about that. Being number one for 200 and some sites say 251, some say 255. I want to say the right number.
Should we waste our time debating that?
What is the number? Does it 250?
Look, I don't know. It was too long to count.
Can you imagine? You're so good for so long, you're like, it doesn't matter anymore. Okay. So then you had issues with Putin. Maybe we'll talk about that.
I have issues with dictators.
That's good. I like that as well. Okay, good. We can talk about that.
And I grew up in the Soviet Union. So when in 1991, 30 years ago, yes, I thought that, that was the end of the nightmare. I was wrong.
Okay, good. So we want to talk about that because this group, just so you know, is very comfortable talking politics. So don't worry about it. They're business people. Again, just to give them optics,
your choice. You're asking for trouble.
No, we talked about that. I told you. You said, don't ask me questions you don't want answers for.
I'm not a politician. I'm not
Yeah.
running for an office. I don't waffle. I don't duck.
Good.
You ask the question, you get a straight answer.
We
Be
like
aware of that.
We like that. Listen, we like that. The good thing about the channel Valuetainment and the people we've interviewed, I've interviewed very, very random people, so I'm accustomed to people like you. It's actually fantastic. Good. Okay, so if somebody doesn't know your story, go all the way back. Who was Garry? How did he come up? How did he start winning, becoming the chess player that he is today?
So do we start from the very beginning?
I want very beginning.
Very
beginning.
So born in April 13, 1963, in the deep south, right next to the Georgia. So actually it was the Republic of Azerbaijan in the Soviet Union, right next to the Republic of Georgia. So, I cannot tell you the moment when I actually learned how to play chess, because unfortunately nobody was there to tweet about it. Yeah, it was a winter evening, 68, 69. My parents tried to solve a chess puzzle from a local newspaper, and I just discovered the mystery of this little wooden chessboard. 64 squares, 32 pieces. Nobody told me how to move the pieces. I learned by just watching them. And at one point, I revealed that I knew some of the secrets, and it was match made in heaven. So very quickly, so they just recognized that instead of sending me to music school, because all my parents, from my father's side, all his relatives were musicians. That's a Jewish side. So and he said, no. It just that's not for Garry. So he has a different kind of mind. And I was sent to a chess club at age 7. Sadly, it was his last decision. He died from leukemia when I was 7, and for the next 50 years, so I was under the divine shield of my mother, who sadly passed last Christmas, from COVID, and she spent her entire life, working for me, for her only son, and that was the beginning. And very quickly I realized that chess would be my life. But also I realized that it's not just about chess, and that's another important lesson from my mother. So yes, chess is about winning and losing. Of course, it's about winning, but it's also about making the difference. And that was a fundamental, like message to me that I carried throughout my entire life, and that's why I could rebuild my life after I left professional chess in 2005. Because it's about making a difference. And that's answer to your first, question. It's about intensity. If I'm in, I have to try to make the difference. Maybe not as much as I did in the world of chess, but anywhere. So I believe that we can make a contribution. And that's a motto of my life. So I even had it on the top of my bed. She put it when I was 11 or 12. If not you, who else? I mean, just don't complain about others. Don't complain about weather conditions. Wow. This is about you.
Powerful.
So you can do whatever you want as long as you're in. And you devote yourself to, again, whatever task you select.
Garry, how much of the drive, was there any, you said your father passed away when you were 7 years old. How much drive came from there to want to make him proud? Was there any drive where you're like, I'm going to go out there and do something big to leave a legacy for the last name? Was there anything there?
Look, absolutely. So and again, this is the fact is that my mother never remarried, and she just, she made this big sacrifice. I knew that I had to be up to the challenge. So look, we still need a little bit of luck, with our professional career, even if you have the talent and you're a hard worker. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I always, argue with people who say, oh, he or she, has a great talent, or other way around, actually. It's not so talented, but is a hard worker. I believe the hard work is also talent. So again, that's another lesson.
Interesting.
From my mother.
Oh, so you believe a person who works hard, that is a form of a talent?
It's, of course, it's a talent. This is exactly. Look, talent is something that is possessed by few or not everybody. And we know that not everybody is a hard worker. So which means working hard is a talent. And when you combine it with your natural talent for chess, for whatever, so just whatever field you selected, so that's an explosive combination. And I knew that working hard was crucial. I grew up in a family with a very modest means. It's in the Soviet Union, and very quickly I recognized that that's the stories that we received from TV, from newspapers, they were very different from from what you could see around. So that was the beginning of my political education.
How old were you when you figured that out?
Look, it's just quite early. I had my uncle, the younger brother of my father, who was part of this, circles of intelligentsia. So and they, he supplied me with some books that were not available in the public libraries, and also because of my chess successes, I could travel. And traveling in the Soviet Union, traveling abroad was rare. So at age 13, as the youngest Soviet junior champion under 18, so I was representing my country in France. So I think that in our neighborhood, in Baku, in the city of Baku, which was the fourth largest city in the Soviet Union, I don't think we had anyone who traveled, in a capitalist country. So I became a star by the very fact that I could travel there, came back, and again I could see things. I could compare them with official propaganda, and it didn't take long for me to actually recognize what was right and what was wrong.
Yeah, my family's from Baku, by the way. Baku, yeah, my mother's side, and I almost married a girl from Baku, but my family's from Baku. So
Okay,
I know.
so we have a lot in common, huh?
Yeah, we do. But they're Armenian. But Baku,
Yep.
let's see
Yep.
what words I can say in
That's
Russian.
that's my mother's side, Armenian.
Как поживаете? Хорошо.
Wow.
Не знаю. Иди сюда. Быстро. I got a few words. I can
Few words.
say. I got a few more, but I'm going to keep it safe here. So let's go back. So if I knew you and we were in school together, at what point did everybody in Russia know who Garry was? Because it starts off first locally, they know who you are. You win a competition. Then they know you, maybe region, and then the entire country knows. Here's who Garry is. He's a phenom. What was that process like?
Yeah, again, look, I climbed, just at this, the chess stairs rapidly. So by age 9, I was a first category player. By age 10, I was a candidate master. But as I mentioned, at age 12, I won the junior national championship under 18. 12, 18. So and by the way, next year I repeated my success, just won twice in a row. So, and Soviet Union at the time was by far the strongest chess country in the world. So I proved, to be a great talent, chess prodigy. And that's it. Everybody knew my name already. But again, even if your name is well known, it's still a long way to go to the very top. And a part of, obvious chess challenges, I had other challenges. I was half Armenian, half Jewish in the Soviet Union.
You're half Armenian?
Of course I have half Armenian.
Do you speak the language or no?
No, I don't. I grew up in Baku, but have you read my Wikipedia?
Of course I have. I'm trying to, Armenian-wise, I'm trying to see if you speak the language.
Look, I grew up in Baku and I grew up in Russian.
But Armenian, I didn't know you were Armenian. I'm telling you right now in front of public, I researched yourself, I don't know you were Armenian.
My ancestors come from Nagorno-Karabakh. That's the whole,
Wow,
both from
good.
my grandmother and grandfather. But unfortunately, I never made it there. So it was quite tragic that my mother died, just seeing her ancestral land being taken away, by Azeri troops. So, and we had to escape in 1990 because it was just, you may call it ethnic cleansing or genocide. So we had to escape from Baku in 1990. Though I was a big hero, but the fact that I had 50% of Armenian blood, made me unwelcome in the city of my birth. That's and I had to face Anatoly Karpov, a darling of the system, a Russian champion, embraced and kissed by Brezhnev. So that was extra challenge, trust me. So and I recognize that it's not just about moving the pieces; it's also just taking a stand. And it's like it was parallel education. Playing chess, getting better, climbing, eventually challenging Karpov in 1984, so at age 21, but also recognizing the shortcomings of the system and somehow feeling that one day I would take a stand to challenge it.
Yeah, nowadays, if somebody wants to get better at chess, I can play it on an iPad.
Yeah,
I can play on. What was your strategy for getting better back in the days? What did you read? What did you have access to?
Look, it's. I just got, from Moscow, so my cousin brought to me archives that my mother kept. Those my notebooks from the 70s, 73, 74, 75, handwritten notes. And I showed it to my kids. My daughter is turning 15. I mean, she couldn't believe that, we had to collect the data. So this is now, it's all here. We had to write the games. I even, had a special set. It's by my coach. He gave me a great present. It's from East Germany. I could put a stamp with a diagram and then put chess pieces on it. So this is, again, it was time consuming, but it was a great contribution to my work ethics.
Yeah.
Because I had to do, and it's again, my kids, just couldn't believe it. This is all this, notebooks, many pounds of the paper. It's just this written. So I think life is always about trade-offs. And of course, we had to spend so much time, but we could value information, treasure information. I started Kasparov Chess Foundation in this country 20 years ago. And from 2005, we have regular sessions with talented kids. When I say talented kids, it's a top level. So, and I can proudly say that US juniors nowadays are the best in the world. So we made a contribution to this success. And more and more, I could see that the way they play is so much influenced by machines. And it's good that they can collect all the data. Today, the kid at age 12 knows more than Bobby Fischer learned in his entire life. Again, simply because he or she could have swiped the finger and just find all the data. But again, how you deal with this data? I mean, can you process it? Can you just, merge it with your intuition, with your human qualities? Because when we analyze the games, I look at them and say, okay, here is a move. I said, it's not a good move. So why it's not a good move? Because machine said so. So I can also look at the screen. Can you tell me why? And many of them stared at me, being confused. What do you mean, why? Because machine said so. So this is sometimes, they lose the ability, the very human ability to look deep down and understand, what it's all about. So there are many ways of describing the difference between humans and machines making decisions. And I always like to bring a quote from one of the founding fathers of AI, Joseph Weizenbaum, who created ELIZA. That's a Siri prototype in 1964, 1965. In his book in 1976, he talked about difference between deciding and choosing. It's very subtle, but he explained it that, deciding is for machines because it's computational. Choosing, it's very human. Because at the end of the day, when you go way down with machine, go to the very bottom.
Yeah.
I did it because I was told so. With human, you go deep down. I did it because I wanted. So it's very important to recognize that, no matter, how much AI is being introduced in our lives, we will remain indispensable. That's what I learned, from the game of chess. So there's always an element of unique human qualities that cannot be replaced by machines. I don't want to sound callous. Yes, every technology, brings problems and destroys industries, but it also creates opportunities. And it's very important for us to understand, even if we belong to the last few decimal places, so what? It's still very important for us to actually find a way to channel this immense power of this brute force.
Garry, question for you, what you're saying, because what you're saying is, we talked about this last few days, and it's a topic of discussion nowadays, the thought about computers eventually one day taking over and doing the work
Nonsense.
of mankind.
Absolute nonsense.
Okay, tell us
unless
your
you're brainwashed by Hollywood and the army of doomsayers, look, it's very simple. You should treat computers, AI, whatever it is. We can discuss the names. It's another human creation. It's not a magic wand, but it's not a Terminator. It's not a harbinger of utopia or dystopia. It is a tool. You don't expect this to bring you to heaven, but it's not going to open the gates of hell. And it's easy to sell fear. That's why you have army of doomsayers telling you, oh, wow, we're all going to die. Why? Machines made us stronger. Machines made us faster. Intelligent machines will make us smarter if we know how to use it. So there's so many new opportunities just being opened every day. And by the way, we're just now getting out of the pandemic crisis. And it's in many of the debates we had in the past, would you like to have driverless cars or robots in the hospitals? How many lives could be saved if we had, these machines, helping us during this crisis? And also, this is something that people just don't recognize when they talk about computers. We can go back to chess. machines, if they don't reach 100% perfection, they're no good. Nonsense. There's no perfection in the universe. All you should expect from computers to do better, to make fewer mistakes. You mentioned my match with IBM Computer in 1997. Yeah. Actually, I won the first one in 1996, just for the sake of historical record. So just to... and I faced other computers as well, but people say, oh, the 1997 match, Garry against Deep Blue, that was the dawn of artificial intelligence. Yes, but I can tell you that Deep Blue was as intelligent as your alarm clock. No, a very expensive one, about $10 million a piece, but still it was not intelligent at all. It didn't have to be intelligent. All it had to do is to make fewer mistakes. It played decent chess, but it made fewer mistakes. By the way, if you have a chess app on your mobile, it's as good or even better than Deep Blue today. So, and the gap between best chess player in the world today, Magnus Carlsen, and a chess engine that you can download on your laptop, it's about the same as between Usain Bolt and Ferrari. So what? This is, again, recognizing that game of chess, game of Go, game of shogi, Japanese chess, video games like StarCraft or Dota, Texas Hold'em poker, those are all what I would call closed systems. And the moment we humans design the framework, machines will do a better job simply because they make fewer mistakes. And that's the same goes with the driverless cars. The moment something goes wrong with the driverless car, you have a front page of a newspaper. And what about 40,000 people being killed, on the roads of this country every year by human mistakes? So again, the moment we understand that, we cannot push machines to perfection, and we could, get, again, this, improving our bottom line. That's what we need. Same, just goes with AI and just in business, so many executives. And I speak a lot, of course, as Patrick mentioned. My last event was in January 2020 in France. So, but since that, I had so many online events. And I could, even on the screen, I could feel this anxiety, fear, So how can we bring it in? What about explainability? So what? Are you there, just to explain, how much it works, or you want to improve your bottom line? So it's we should not expect what machines cannot do, but we should also be very open, understanding what it can bring to us and how we can actually merge it. So how we can bring together us and machines. That's what I knew in 1997. That's what why I introduced so-called advanced chess, humans plus machines. It's about finding how humans and machines collaborate. That's the way to look into the future.
Fantastic. A question for you, though, because you did say when you went against Deep Blue, it just makes fewer mistakes than a human does, right? So if you were to get 50 phenoms, math phenoms, they're great at math, but they've never played the game of chess. You get them, you coach them for a year. A computer gets these 50 phenoms, and we do a project together. The computer teaches them chess for 12 months. Okay, so you got computers, AI, you got Garry Kasparov with writing on a sheet of paper. 12 months later, these kids play against each other. Who's going to be better at the game of chess?
It will be one-sided.
Which side?
Our side.
Tell me why.
Easily.
Why?
Because it's about teaching. Because it's about transferring data. That's what I said. You have closed systems, but there's not a shred of evidence that machines can transfer data from one closed system to another closed system. Even if you have, the computer, dominating in StarCraft, pick up a video game. The moment you shift it from one map to another, you have to start from the scratch. That's, again, it's fantastic, but again, this is still a very human role to actually to transfer the data. Now, this is, I always, I like, the quote that goes not from science, but from art, from Pablo Picasso, who said, computers are useless because they can only give you answers. Think about it. Answers only. Because it's as a great artist, he knew that, to be creative, you have to ask questions. Questions are a beginning. And that's where we belong. We have to ask questions. Oh, machines also can ask questions. Yes, but they do not know what questions are relevant. It's very important that you understand what matters most. And that's why, again, I remain optimistic. Also, the machine's getting more sophisticated. Good for me. I'm 58. I will never be as savvy as my kids, working with computers. But this is the moment where I believe my expertise, my wisdom, my experience could actually be an important factor to start, very successful collaboration with these machines that will not require, a lot of technical knowledge.
Let me ask a direct pointed question, and I'm curious on how you react to this. Are you saying that because you firmly believe that, or are you saying that because you have to believe that because that's your signature? Meaning, like, if a computer does better than Garry Kasparov, what's Gary's, so are you kind of defending your own philosophy? Because I'll give you an idea. Like, how people say stuff like, Time Magazine wrote an article talking about the fact that millennials are lazier generation than the current generation, right? And writes this article, they don't work as hard. All what they want to do is they want to be on Instagram. They want to do this. And our generation didn't do that. And at the end, it says, if you say the next generation is lazy, it's just a sign that you're getting old, because the generation prior used to also say that you were lazy. So do you think there's a part of us as we're coming up that we almost don't want to give in to say AI is taking over and it's going to do the job better than us?
Do I look like someone who has any doubts about what I'm saying?
Well, that's the problem, though. Yes. That's what I'm saying. The reason why I'm pushing you back on this is to say, do we sometimes have blind spots because we're so confident of what worked 20 years ago, maybe not today?
I was the first knowledge worker on this planet who had his job threatened by a machine. But and again, all I did after the 1997 match, first I wanted to play the rematch, the third match. And IBM made a good business decision. They knew that the blue was good, but the third match probably would give me a good chance of winning. So, and since they know they had one of the highest performance for 2 weeks, because the IBM shares jumped 22%, over the 2 weeks, since when we played the match. And many of my friends said that my biggest mistake was not to lose the match, but not to ask the options. I wanted to play the rematch, and they turned me down, and I was really upset, so I was looking forward just to prove that I was still the best, and then the blue disappeared. So I just actually recently rediscovered it. Many of them probably also saw it. It's doing sushi in JFK Airport, Terminal 5. It's a great bar, Deep Blue. So I love sushi. Never ate there. But speaking about this, it's the machines. I wanted to learn what's next. And as I said, the next is working together. You cannot beat them, join them. Again, I took time, for me to analyze, this is our performance versus their performance. But I found out that machines will always have shortcomings. And the future of any successful business is to finding the way how to make contribution, unique human contribution, to the very specific machine to create a combination that will be most effective for this task. Sounds easy, but it's tough. And those who can master the process will be on top of the food chain. So I have nothing to gain. I'm 58, so that's already. I belong to the generation that is threatened by the computers. But again, I'm an optimist because I believe machines will also help us to realize our wildest dreams. By the way, we dream. Machines cannot dream even in sleeping mode. So it's important that we see this as opportunity. I'm an optimist, incorrigible optimist by nature, despite the fact I was born in the Soviet Union and had to leave from Putin's Russia to live in exile. But I still believe, in the future of humanity, and I see so many things that are happening at the same time. It's kind of an irony that during the pandemics we saw another breakthrough in the space with NASA, with Elon Musk. So this is important. We are pushing forward. By the way, it's not we all as all humanity, people who born, raised, and work in the free world. So that's why I believe freedom is so important, because that's the only guarantee that the progress will never get stalled.
You're speaking to an audience that's on the side with you. By the way, I'm just pushing back, just curious to know what you thought about that. Going back to when you talked about when you faced Anatoly Karpov, I think you were what, 21, 22 years
21.
old? Prior to him, who was the most intimidating opponent you faced? Was there anybody you faced where you didn't know whether you were going to beat him or not? No. You don't even remember it.
No, it's not about being, it's not remembering. It's this, Karpov was, of course, my nemesis, because we played 5 world championship matches. We spent hundreds of hours, in front of each other at the chessboard. But again, just going back to what my mother told me, it's about you. So whatever happened in the game of chess, it was always, my own contribution. I did well, I won. I did poorly, I lost. But there's no one to blame. So it's I had tough opponents, but I always knew that if I could improve, I would win.
When you faced him and you won, you became the champion, what was that like? When you became the champion the first time and you were at the top of the world the first time, what was that feeling like?
Look, it's probably quite ironic that my first memory of the moment being the world champion, I won my last game against Karpov, game 24, 1985 on November 9th. So, and next day there was a ceremony, award ceremony. So, and even in my book, even I just, I made it like an introduction because with all these, hugs and kisses, and Garry, that. So that's I was standing on the stage, just look at the picture. There's this big hair, flowers, laurel, and all I remember is then I was approached by a widow of one of the former world champions, Rona Petrosian, another Armenian. So Tigran Petrosian, who was one of my mentors. And she looked at me, it was a glimpse of sadness. And she said, "Young man, I'm sorry for you." What? Sorry for me? I'm 22, I'm the best on this planet. The sky is the limit. And she repeated, "I'm sorry for you because the happiest day of your life has just passed." Oof. Can you imagine to hear it at age 22? I have to admit, I didn't pay much attention to that. Okay, things happen. But then somehow it got stuck. And I thought, what was it, a curse or a blessing? Because it could be a curse, but also it gave me reasons to prove her wrong. So just, to do other things, just to make sure that, I could, push the horizon, not only in the game of chess, and I stayed on top for a long time, but it's just do other things. And that's what I remember. And I think it was a great start because it's made me recognize that, you cannot seize the process of exploration and learning. And again, that's I think we all hear a lot of advices from right, left, and the center, but it's for us to pay attention. It's again to understand what matters most. I recognize that this warning was sort of like a greatest push into my future.
From 84 to 05, you're number one.
Yeah.
How the hell do you do that? No, you act like it's normal because you're you. Like you've been you your entire life, but we are, we're every other sport, no one's been number one for 21 years. How do you do that?
Look,
is it the game different? Is it your discipline? Is it your wanting to prove that lady wrong that said this is going to be the biggest point, highest point for you? Is it your father's drive? Is it your mom supporting you? What was it?
All together. You just keep counting. Because you need this is a combination. It's not just one factor. It's all about it's all together plus many more. But on top of that is just, it's the something I learned and that's again was a very important lesson. It goes beyond chess. It's for business, for life, for politics. It's if we lose the game, whether it's in chess, whether it's in other sport, whether in business deal or political campaign, we know we did something wrong, and we have to go back and we have to study where we made a mistake. Now, if we won, naturally, it's because we're great, and we like to celebrate. Now, I can tell you, someone who stayed on top for so long, perfect game doesn't exist. If you won, it's for a simple reason, because your opponent made the last mistake. And it's most likely you also made mistakes or inaccuracies. There always things to improve. And I think one of the key elements of my success was that I was relentless with myself. So I was brutally honest. So I looked at my games, and I won many more than I lost, of course. And I knew that, in order to win next day, I have to look at what I did, find my mistakes, and come back, being again at the cutting edge. So what I figured out, that if you are challenging your own excellence, you will never run short of opponents. So that was simple. So I knew that it's all about improving my game, even staying on top. Because the moment you want to rest on your laurels, you are in trouble. As I put in my book, success is very often the greatest enemy of future success, because it can blind us.
Of course.
We think we did it because we're the greatest, and we can now just enjoy life. The moment you enjoy life, you're done.
Garry, in basketball...
It doesn't mean that you don't have to enjoy life, of course.
Garry, in basketball, they say your knees go, right? In baseball, you're just getting older because you can't run as fast, let's just say. Football, you just can't run or throw the way you're throwing the ball, unless if your name is Brady. But in your world, what goes? Because it's not like you're running to make a move. You're sitting there, you're making a move. So the career can be longer. What eventually gets to a point? Is it just the fact that you're like 21 years, I've beaten everybody? It doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't get the same satisfaction of wanting to win anymore. What goes away in your world? I don't know if you understand the question I'm asking.
I do.
Okay.
I do, yes. There are two factors. One is, as you described, you getting not bored, but you're running out of excitement. Just bringing back the theme that I just mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, I reached a point where I knew I would not able to make the same difference. Yeah, it's winning, but it's not the same drive. But also age, age counts, because it's all about energy that you can spend and concentration. And concentration means that your brains, every mental power, piece of mental power you can mobilize is there. Mm-hmm. You're getting older. You have families. You have kids. You have other things, and trust me, it's impossible. Just to switch. Oh, I do 6 hours. And then no, you cannot forget it. It's somewhere in your subconscious. Now I retired from professional chess in 2005. I play occasionally some events, and people say, Garry, you know how to move the pieces. Why don't you just go back and say, guys, how can I do that? I have so many things. I cannot, just erase everything. It's not a hard disk. So I cannot, just do this sweeping operation, in my brains. And any moment, I'm at the board, so I will be still, just having some thoughts, that will basically jeopardize this mental process. Concentration is not there, because it's somehow over the last 16 years, I rebuilt the working algorithm, so I can do things, 1 hour, 2 hours presentations, but not 6 hours game. Not even 25 minutes, because it's a different kind of exercise. Big deal. So again, you just have to remember what you can do and what you cannot do.
Garry, when you're looking at the game of chess, how do you see the game? Like from your lens, if you put your lens on, so we can learn from you. Do you look at it as war? Do you look at it as purely from a mathematics, point of view? How are you looking at the game?
It's a game, so I don't think it's mathematics or any other science. It requires a lot of preparation. So I'm still very passionate about the game. So I love the game. I like watching. I love watching the games. I just playing, online and just doing exhibitions. So it still takes a considerable part of my life. Again, I just know my limitations, that I'm no longer a professional player. I'm probably the strongest amateur on the planet. When I play chess, it was everything. So that's, again, you play, you have to invest, all you have into the game. So whether you may call it a war, you may call it psychological warfare, because we're sitting against each other, and thanks to the Queen's Gambit, I think a lot of people recognize the intensity of the game. So I was very proud that, as an advisor to Scott Frank, so I added so many details that made it very realistic. And for those, because very often I'm being asked, what are the pictures? I'm sure many of you watch the series. That's with Beth Harmon looking at the ceiling with a picture. They say, oh, it's Hollywood. I said, no, that's not Hollywood. It's a Hollywood production, but that's exactly how many of us, thought during the game. You look at the board, but then you can take your eyes away. This is the way that you can just somehow refresh your attitude. So, and just to find some new ideas, because we don't have to look at the board just to analyze it. So I again enjoyed it immensely, and it was a never-ending process of acquiring data, analyzing it, and coming up with new ideas, fresh ideas.
Yeah, I ask it for a reason. I'll get to my question in a minute here, but let me go in a different direction. So in business world, you'll have a business plan. We write a business plan, and here's what we're going to do: Q1 this month, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then we're going to expand here. We're going to take this capital. I'm going to hire 5 employees here. We're going to go to this office. Anyways, you put a business plan together, and then COVID happens, and then somebody in your company leaves and goes to the competitor. They take 3 clients away from you. Things adjust. How much of the game you play because you're initiating and making him react to you, and how much of it is it you're reacting to your opponent's moves?
I think when people talked about Charles Darwin, I think often they got it wrong, because actually the Darwin theory said that it's not the strongest species that survive, not the smartest, but the most adaptable to change. That's it. So it's about your ability to adapt. And these days, it's the most valuable quality that guarantees success. As you said, COVID happens. Things can happen. And it's and that's why, I always argued, and it's my book is a special chapter, How Life Imitates Chess, special chapter called Attacker's Advantage. Yes, people know if you are in the attack, you take risk. But there are also benefits, because you are ahead. You can be ahead of the curve, just on this curve.
Sure.
You can see what's happening there. So I think these days, attacker's advantage is more valuable than ever.
Wow.
Because again, it's taking risk is risky.
Yep.
Not taking risk is much riskier.
What split would you put on that? 80-20? 70-30?
I don't know. That depends. But it's for so long we knew that that's the philosophy of business was to mitigate risk, how to reduce it. And by the way, once I did an experiment. So you can use a Google Ngram, and you can look at the books for 100 years and find out how certain words have been used. And you can check, and it's always shows the change in the public attitude and in technology. You put the word computer, you put the word phone, so phone goes up and then a little bit down, and then with mobile phones goes up again. So there's only one word that I found that didn't behave, following the pattern. It's called risk. Until mid-late 60s, it was almost non-existing, and then it jumped exponentially. We discovered risk, and we wanted to mitigate this risk. We wanted to handle it. We want to minimize it. Forgetting the fact that, if you minimize risk, you also have to sacrifice benefits. We can print money, of course. That's what we've been doing for a long time. So to compensate. But it's insane just to even to think, how many great things happened in the past because people didn't, pay much attention to risk. Every of you has a mobile device that is 10,000 times more powerful than all computing power of NASA in 1969 when Americans landed on the moon. So maybe that's happened because they couldn't calculate the risk. Because today we would know that the risk of losing the crew would be 25 to 30%. Show me the president of the United States who would authorize such a mission today. So again, it's this discovering risk has consequences. Yeah, risk is a problem, but it's we build systems, that had to make sure that no risk will find a hole to jeopardize our business. Yeah, it's just by FDA regulations, penicillin would be banned today at the first test because every fifth person shows allergy. Some people say maybe even Tylenol will not make it through. So what's happened during the pandemics? All of a sudden, rules changed because the companies that abandoned research in antibiotics and vaccines for a simple reason, because 95%, 90% was not good. It 99.9%, could lead to a trouble, with an army of lawyers, going after you if you fail once. But now we needed something. We needed a miracle. And I think that's now we're seeing this change in this attitude. It's more and more people recognize that, you have to incorporate risk. Yes, it's risky. Yes, you can lose, but you have potential benefits. At the end of the day, that's about capitalism. It's the Winston Churchill said that the inherent vice of capitalism is an equal distribution of blessings. But the inherent virtue of socialism is equal sharing of miseries. So, yeah, we have to take our chances. Yes, and I think again we have something that was not available in 1969 or in the 70s or the 80s. We have these very powerful devices. Just how do we use them? Do we use them wisely? Do we use them effectively? I don't think so. So just, find a way to utilize this enormous power that has been created in the free world. And again, we showed with vaccines. It took 10 months to come up with vaccines, by the way, created in the free world. For those who are arguing about the two different systems, I always tell, we had an experiment. China gave us virus, America gave us vaccine.
I like the fact that you're not very controversial and you play the safe game. I respect that a lot about you.
Yeah, all my life I try to just be very around,
It's very obvious.
Yes.
It's evident. It's just very evident. But since you brought that up,
I hope you are not sponsored by Huawei or Chinese companies.
If there is a room you would be safer to talk about that stuff more, there's probably that room doesn't exist. This is the safest room for you to talk about what you just talked about. But let's go back and a little bit more deeper into that. I was going to do Q&As, but I'm going to take some of their time and I'm going to ask you the questions. So this young lady over here talked about how last night she had meetings with a couple other people. And they were talking about what it was like to be in Russia, what it was like to be an immigrant, why they love America so much, what makes this thing so special. You talked about Baku. You talked about your first experience when you went to a capitalistic country and you're like, I've never seen this before because my brain was, controlled in a certain way. I was born and raised in Iran. I lived there 10 years. In Iran, it's Marik Bar Amerika, death upon America. This is the worst country in the world. Why is it?
There's a competition.
Why is it that so many people who have lived in a communistic, socialistic regime are doing whatever they can to come to capitalistic? What makes it sexy? What is such a big turnoff with communism and socialism to you?
Look, it's about freedom.
I agree.
Simple. It's about that. Look, there's no guarantee of success, but you have a chance.
Can I stop you right there? Here's the angle I want you to take. Present to us what it was like to live in a communistic regime. What was that like? Because again, most people don't know that life. They don't know that world. Thanks
God you don't know it.
Yeah, if you don't mind presenting that.
I don't think I can tell you in a few minutes, but I think the problem with Americans, you take things for granted. You keep forgetting the wise words of Ronald Reagan, from just, I think, 1967, his inaugural speech when he became governor of California, that freedom is a fragile thing. And it's never more than one generation away from extinction. That's why I think it's so important to hear people like me. But maybe I'm the wrong person because I was successful. But there's so many people coming to America. They look at America the way we looked, from the other side of Iron Curtain. For us, it was a proverbial shining city on a hill. Yeah, we knew America had problems. Again, there's no perfection on this world. But you compare this country to any other place on the planet, you will not find a place that offers more opportunities for people, just of all races, genders, and that's why people like me are just getting so concerned when self-criticism turns into self-flagellation. Because every time, we hear, these noises in this country that are aimed at the very foundation of this great nation. That's what helps dictators in Russia, in China, in Iran, because, look at America. America is bad. America is built on evil. Nonsense. This country was built on great expectations of people that wanted to want to create a world for free people, just full of opportunities. And while there's always room for improvement, but you need a good foundation, you need a good basis for that. And people like me would know that. And, for those who say, America overplayed her hand. So America, went everywhere. So this is, America should not be a world policeman. Okay, fine. You know what happens when policeman is on a beat? Look at Kabul. So globalization means that you have a responsibility, and America is still a leader. People look at America as a country that still can lead the world, free world. Unfortunately, they don't have the same America I used to have when I was a kid living in the Soviet Union. And we're missing that. By the way, you're also missing that because it's the ignoring the freedom of others, basically, hits you at home as well. So again, I can take my stand. So I know that a lot of people, may feel uncomfortable with what I'm saying, but I speak on behalf of millions and millions and millions of people from Iran, Afghanistan, Russia, other places who look at America and they're confused, they're scared, they just don't understand. How come that this great power now is on retreat, is on the run? It's just, it looked inward and is destroying the foundation that helped to build the greatest nation on earth.
Absolutely. Why didn't you, you had political aspirations,
No, I don't.
You did. You had.
No, I never had it. No.
In 2008, you said you wanted to run.
Look, it's just running in Putin's Russia was like sending a message. Because I knew that I would never be on the ballot. And by the way, it was in 2007. That's what I called vegetarian time in Russia. Because for protesting in the streets, you can end up in jail as myself for 5 or 10 days. Being beaten, abused. But today, if you show up on the street, it will be 5 to 10 years. So, look, I marched and we did it peacefully. I can proudly say that unlike in many other countries, including this one, during our protests from 2005 to 2011, we did not have a single broken window. I'm not even talking about burned cars. The only violence on the streets of Russia was caused by Putin's riot police and security officers. People who marched with me, they're either in exile like myself, in jail like Alexei Navalny, or killed like Boris Nemtsov. That's a sad reality of Russia. And all we have there is a window, built by a KGB officer to sell to the Western leaders that would like to buy this fake story. Unfortunately, there are many of them. And by the way, one thing that Putin did, I have to say that it's give him credit. He proved that the West also could be corrupt. I never thought that I would see widespread corruption in the free world, the way Putin exposed it, because he had access to more money than any other individual in the history of humanity. I think directly or indirectly, he controls something like $1 trillion through Russian budget funds, oligarch fortunes, and he can move money here and there. And it's proved irresistible. And that's again, that tells you that our problem is also your problem, because it eats alive the institutions that guaranteed your freedom and your prosperity.
Why wouldn't you have political aspirations, though? I mean, if you think in your vocal and the way you're giving your points, truth is cutting through lies and controversy, and you're doing it in a way somebody says this makes sense, why wouldn't you use that ability to go do something good?
Look, again, I always thought, and I was in the field of human rights and democracy. I don't have, the probably just I'm not built just to run the campaign, and just I'm happy to support the right people. I want to inspire people.
Well, that's a part of it. I mean,
Exactly, yeah,
that's
but I
greatly.
know, but I don't know. I never thought of myself just running for an office, doing it seriously, because there's so many other things I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's wrong. I don't know.
No, but it's.
But I'm not even in it. I live here on the green card, so I cannot run for an office here. So anyway, but I'm very happy to inspire those who are willing to take their chances, and I'm ready to throw my.
We don't know each other.
weight.
This is the first time we're meeting. Yes.
Yeah, if you don't count the
The
Zoom.
Zoom that we have, but this is the first time you and I are
Yes.
physically meeting. Almost everybody that eventually, like the people I'm concerned about that run are the people that from they were 6 years old, they wanted to be a president one day. That's the guy that wants power. I'm concerned about that. But sometimes, there are eras where a person has the capability to go face off some of the bigger tough guys and the bullies, and you don't seem to be afraid. And the way you process issues and present your message to people, it inspires others. So I don't know. I think you ought to consider doing something with that ability. How many guys would agree with that? I think I think the world would benefit from it if you got a little more involved. But anyways, I don't want to instigate. I have a tendency of doing that. I want to open it up for CEOs. I want these guys to ask some questions here.
Oh, wow.
Anybody from Russia that has a question? Any CEOs from Russia that has a question? Okay, Joanna's really got a question here. Let's go right here. She's from Mexico, I think, right? Where do you live right now?
I live in Mexico, but I'm originally from Romania.
There you go.
I was born and raised in communism. You're actually one of our heroes, so thanks for coming. My question is about the 1997 Deep Blue. After 19 moves, you resigned. But the interesting part is you actually changed your style. It was like a wait-and-see approach. Why did you change your style, and do you think that affected your resignation?
Look, thank you for bringing this very memorable moment. Look, I lost the game before I moved the pieces. It's just because it was a very tough match. It was, even after 5 games. I was very close in winning in game 5. And by the way, if you look at the game 5 from today's perspectives, using the chess engines, they'll tell you that all the compliments were heard in 1997 from people say, oh, Kasparov played great game, Deep Blue defended. They're laughing loud. So this machines will tell you that Deep Blue made mistakes, I made mistakes, and I missed the win. And I could feel it that I missed the win. And also we had a lot of arguments with IBM. So again, what under the bridge? So I already made my peace with them, but I had a lot of arguments with them during the match. And I was human. One of the mistakes, actually, of many, that we had the rules that we played 2 games, then rest day, 2 games, 2 rest days, and 2 games. I had to insist on 1 break. I needed this, after game 5, I needed 1 day just to get just myself back to so I'm human. I proved that I was human. So, and that was a purely human disaster. So which again was another demonstration that it's all about making fewer mistakes.
Awesome. Right back there, yes.
Hi, Garry. Actually, I followed you during and I'm also from Romania, so I grew up in a communist country. So I think
we attract a lot of communists that become capitalists.
Whoa.
Just so you know.
But my question I have for you, I also play competitive chess, and I know the mental toughness of the game. My question to you is there something that you did the day before, the week of, to prepare you mentally, which can help us as business owners as we're going into a meeting or some kind of a challenging situation, that maybe you can talk about, like, what did you do to prepare for a big event like that? Mentally.
You're testing my memory. That was, I played competitive chess a long time ago. Yeah. Look, I wish we could, I'm looking at the clock now. I wish
Don't worry about it.
we could have this question, at the beginning of the conversation, because it's much bigger issue for me than just preparing for one game. Because there's something that I always thought was wrong is to ask for tips. And then let me explain why. Because we're all different. Yeah, we're different for many, many reasons. So, and the way we make decisions, our decision-making formula is as unique as our DNA or our fingerprints. So it's having one universal advice for everybody could be wrong. Because if you, God forbid, get sick, so you don't have the same medicine as I do, so you need your test. So same is here, is that, the beginning of the process of improving your decision-making process, of getting sort of a more acquainted with who you are, is just analyzing and recognizing that I'm more aggressive, I'm more conservative, and also recognizing that this is your nature. It's a very unique process. And I don't know about you, I'm just, I'm an extrovert, I'm very dynamic. So I knew what worked for me might be counterproductive for you. So it's very important to know who you are and how you build your both preparation, but also the game. Because the strategy should reflect your ability to master it at every point. And what I know about chess and about probably any other walk of life is that no matter how much preparation we did before, no matter how much time we spend analyzing our performance, opponent's performance, the key is, to make sure that at the climax, where we have little time left to make a decision, and this decision could be really, faithful. So it could decide the outcome of the game. We have to be comfortable. So that's why, it's the way to design your preparation and the game, same goes for business or for politics, is to make sure you're comfortable, that it works for you, and it's always unique. And again, it also includes, your knowledge of the opponents, because you want to make sure that you face the opposition on the field that benefits you, so that puts emphasis on your advantages and also exposes opponents' weaknesses. And just let me give you this like visual example. You have two armies in the medieval battlefield. So both, of equal strengths. Both, of armies have talented generals in charge. But one army has powerful cavalry, another has skillful archers as the key components. The outcome of the battle most likely will be decided by the terrain, landscape. In the valley, the cavalry will run them down. In the hills, the archers will put cavalry down. So again, it's all about creating conditions where your strengths will be a key factor and opponent's strengths will be downplayed.
Yeah, okay. And so how often do you see somebody who is very analytical yet charismatic and inspirational? You don't meet too many people like that, by the way, and he's a trifecta. Yes, go for it.
Господин Kasparov, I'm immigrated from Russia.
I can hear it.
Yeah, my name is Sergei Plotnikov. I have two questions. You have two foundations. One is promoting chess with children, and if I correctly, second foundation is your human rights help. So if you can explain what you do in this field, and second, what is your biggest challenge right now in your life?
So Kasparov Chess Foundation, I mentioned, I founded it here in 2002. We'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary next year. That has branches around the world. So that's quite a big charitable organization that does two things. One is working with kids, promoting blueprint curriculum, but also working with rising stars, mostly in America, but now we extended our services to Europe and also to Russian-speaking world. Now, Human Rights Foundation, I'm a chairman for nearly 10 years, but I followed the footsteps of one of my heroes, Václav Havel, the former president of Czechoslovakia, the great human rights activist who was the president of the country. And I'm proud to be affiliated with the organization that built the largest dissident event in the world called Oslo Freedom Forum. So, by the way, it's called Oslo Freedom Forum, but it's a global event, and one of them will take place in Miami in the beginning of October. So, and we have all leading dissidents, and it's all about stories. It's not about numbers, data. It's about real stories. So, for instance, on this event in Miami 4 weeks from now, one of the speeches will be delivered by Alexei Navalny's daughter. That was a message from jail.
Wow.
So we have Leopoldo Lopez from Venezuela, so one of these opposition leaders there. So, and many people just ranging from North Korea to Cuba. So now about greatest challenges. Some people say staying alive.
We do one more. Who really has a good question? Really, is it positive?
This is
Tamara's arm. She's from Azerbaijan. I don't know what she's going to ask. Okay, okay? Tell me what your question's about. Just give me the topic. One word.
It's brain.
Brain. What's yours about tomorrow? Give me one word. Okay, no, you can't. That's not selling me. What's your question? Yes.
Intuition.
How about yourself? Passion? Somebody?
Ooh, wow. Wow.
Okay. All right, let's go to Tamara. Tamara, tell us what your question is. No, because this one could get interesting. Here we go.
Hi. First of all, please don't hate me too much for asking another question. When something matters to me, I go all in, and I will never apologize for that. So, I think it was yesterday or the day before that, Patrick asked us, what is your future truth? My page was blank because my future truth is dangerous. My future truth has consequences. And my future truth is not just getting canceled on social media, it's getting in actual trouble and having my family getting in trouble. But hearing you speak now, I want to say, my future truth is that I will end communism in the former USSR countries, and I will start with Russia. I'll be honored if you support me in my future political campaigns.
It's a very ambitious goal, so look, being an optimist, I also, have to inject a dose of realism, and I understand that, fighting Putin's dictatorship may not bring benefits tomorrow, maybe not even the day after tomorrow. I live outside of Russia for 8 years. I don't expect to come back tomorrow. So a lot of people ask me, so can I go back to Russia? I say, yes, it will be a one-way ticket. I always buy a round trip. I think that is just, ending. It's not even a communism, so in Russia, it's a new form of dictatorship, which is even much worse and more dangerous, because communism was an ideology, and you could see the shortcomings of the ideology. People in the West, they could say, yeah, it's propaganda. It has, its own domestic difficulties, and it couldn't compete. Putin actually came up with something far more sophisticated, because the way they distort the picture, the way they distort the truth, is basically saying truth cannot be known. Yeah, we bad, everybody's bad. We corrupt, everybody's corrupt.
Well,
Big
the good
deal.
thing, I work in tech and I'm very data-driven. When it comes to that, truth does exist.
Truth, yeah, we know that truth does exist, but there's only one way to tell the truth. And there are millions of ways, thanks to social media, to lie. Truth is lonely. And we just, we have to find ways to defend it. And they actually recognize that they don't have to sell an ideology. Yeah, I always call Putin merchant of doubt. Yeah, it's easy, it's easy to spread doubts, especially with the money that he has, and with so many willing souls in the free world to buy it. So that's why this is not a Russian problem. This is not a problem of former Soviet republics, in the former Soviet Union. This is everybody's problem because it's a globalized world. And again, I hope that we can fight together because this fight, does not have borders, does not have limitations. This is a fight for our future, for future of our kids. And I know it from the bottom of my heart. I know from my experience, there is no compromise. We cannot end the war that was declared on us. And we are in the midst of this war. You can pretend that, we just, we ended the war in Afghanistan. No, we have not ended the war. We run. And there's a big difference. Because those who won there, they are still at war with us. So we should look at this world, with open eyes and be optimistic, but also recognizing the danger. Because the moment we look the other side, it hits us, as it happened 20 years ago in this country. The sad celebration, celebration is the wrong word, anniversary that we would remember a week from now. So I'm happy to end this conversation on such a high note because this is for me. If it happens, it will bring me a chance to go back to my country and just to visit my mother's grave, which unfortunately is many thousand miles away, and I couldn't stand there.
Give it up, Garry Kasparov. If you didn't know, Garry Kasparov is Armenian. I want to make sure you knew about this, that Gary's Armenian. Anyways, really enjoyed this interview. One of my favorite interviews all year long I did. A lot of different topics about communism, Russia, Putin, his view on politics. He should be talking more about politics. If you enjoyed this interview, give it a thumbs up and comment below on what you took away. And I have another video I think you'll like as well. It's a talk I gave in Long Beach a few years ago titled, Think Like a Grandmaster. If you've never seen that, click over here to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.